My younger brother and I figured out pretty early that we were going to need to stick together if we were going to have any hope of vesting our parents, or at least staying out of trouble. Because, see, my parents, they were not the kind that you could ever mistakenly think were going to get divorced. I mean, they were a unit, and they were smart and kind of wily and very sly about trying to use us against each other. So we really worked hard to keep it like 2-on-2, which seemed like at least a fighting chance instead of 3-on-2, 3-on-1, or whatever. So, for example, you know, like if my mom would say to me something in a very sweet voice, like, I thought Mac would have been home by now. I wonder where he is. And, you know, rather than volunteering something like, well, he's with that French exchange student that you told him he couldn't be, I would say, I think he had a big test he might have been studying for with Kevin, I think. You know, and when she would grumble to my brother about how I was talking on the phone too much, he wouldn't say, yeah, and it's really sickening, all the stuff she's saying to her boyfriend. He would say something like, I overheard a little. I think she was working with her partner at school on some project. You know, this is the way we cover each other. And when my mom once historically brought both of us out to the parking lot where she had parked her Nissan Stanza and had us look under the carriage where there was all this like grass stuck up under the carriage of her car, and demanded to know what had happened, my brother and I looked at each other, first trying to think, like, could she know that I had taken the car out joyriding with my brother and his friend holding on to the top with the open, you know, the open top, and I had done these donuts and stuff around this old ballpark, and eventually accidentally didn't see that there was this riverbank and ran smack into it. But we decided she did not, in fact, know that this was a fact-gathering mission. So my brother, after we both looked puzzled for a while, my brother offered, oh, maybe it's when you drove me across the ball field to pick me up the other day. And my mother bought that. So this is how we worked it. We stuck together, and this worked pretty well, but I had been away at college for a year and a half, and so we were a little out of practice, maybe not so in sync, and I was back just for the Thanksgiving holiday, so it was pretty much like 4 days. And I actually had work to do, so I was staying up late working, and my brother had said, you know, that he was going to bed. He'd said goodnight earlier, and it was really late, like 2:30. And you know how you get really used to the sounds that you hear normally in a house? You know, it has creaks and groans. Well, I heard something, it was almost 3 o'clock, and I heard something that was not normal. And I didn't know what it was. It kind of sounded like a car door slamming, but I wasn't sure. And so I went out to the window by the Christmas tree that stayed up all year long, don't ask. And I looked out and I watched. It was the weirdest thing. It was my mom's Nissan Stanza, and it was like the car was sneaking out, a la Love Bug, Herbie style. It was backing up silently. It was just rolling backwards, and then it kind of reversed back into the street. And then the lights came on and the engine came on and it drove up off the hill. And I didn't see anybody. It just was like the car decided it was tired of living in suburbia. And, but it occurred to me that it must be some clever, I don't know, remote theft new procedure that thieves had. And so but I had seen it, and I had to do something with this information. And so I burst into my parents' room, and they were both sound asleep, and I shook them awake. My father, really, more than my mother, because my mother sleeps with one eye open anyway. And but I was like, someone stole your car. You know, they just drove up with it. If you call the police now, maybe they can actually catch them. And so they're calling, so what? And I'm handing them the phone. You know, call the police. I'll dial for you. And so my mom is kind of groggily getting on the phone. She's definitely the best person to call the police. And I hear, you know, the operator pick up. She doesn't even have to go on hold or push different functions. She just is on there. And she's starting to explain to them, you know, my daughter just informed me that our car has been stolen. She saw someone drive up the car. And as she's saying that, all of a sudden it hits me. It's like, my brother said he was going to bed, but what if? And I just thought, I was like, I'll be right back. And I went and opened the room to his, and it was the classic pillows in place of his. I was like, oh man, I can't believe, I just dimed out my own brother. Like, I'm calling the police on my brother. So then I had the very sheepish job of walking back into the room and saying to him, Mom, she's like, I'm on with the police. I'm like, yeah, I know, but see, it's important. Stephanie, and I finally just said, I think it was Mac, who maybe took the car, actually, because he's not in his room. And my mother gave me one of these. She's like, I'm sorry. Apparently there's been no theft of the car by someone not related to us, but I might be killing one of our family members, so if you'd like to stay on. No, but that's actually not a good thing to say to the police, because they get very concerned. But she did. She eventually got them off the phone, said she was just kidding about actually killing her kids, and she didn't. My brother was, he got in huge trouble. And he tried to give me hell about it, but I pointed out that he needed to include me in on these things if I was going to have his back. And so, we've been pretty good at getting our backs ever since.